Hi, my name's Kate from Shrewsbury Town in the community and welcome to our series of at-home workouts. These are tailored to anyone, so you can do the whole exercise seated or standing, no matter your ability. I've got my glamorous assistant Harry with me today.
Hi guys.
Harry's going to be doing all of the seated options and I'll be doing standing and with some support. It's a good idea to make sure that your surroundings are safe, so make sure there's no loose rugs or carpets underneath you. You have a good stable chair to hand, preferably a dining room chair. You might use some things to help you with your workout today, like some weights. I would recommend using very light dumbbells, 1 kilogram or 1.5 kilograms, or 2 cans of beans or 2 small bottles of water would be ideal, or you can just use your body weight. Just be mindful of how you feel today. Make sure there's no medication changes or anything that might make you feel unwell. But if you're feeling fit and active, let's do our warm-up, do our workout, and then have a stretch. Enjoy! Okay, let's get started. These are going to be quite short workouts, so we want to try and remain active as much as possible, all the way through. Let's start with a nice easy warm-up by marching on the spot, with just thinking about our feet. I want you to focus on the way that your feet are connecting into the floor, toes through to heels, making sure we give weight to every part of our foot so we're not in our tiptoes. If you're like Harry and you're doing our exercises seated today, just make sure that you're sat in the first third of your chair. Make sure your knees are at right angles so that your shins are vertical. This is just for safety. And really challenging when you're seated, try to stay tall. Always think shoulders, ribs and hips neatly stacked in a tall tower, engaging the tummy muscles. And that goes for us who are standing as well. So shoulders are back, we've got a long neck and an open smile. Hopefully the heart rate is lifting gently now. So we're going to take our feet into a resting position and start to do some nice big shoulder shrugs. Lifting the shoulders right up to the ears and then actively pulling the fingertips down towards the floor. This is a really nice opportunity to take big, deep breaths. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. We want to try and keep this deep breathing all the way through our session today. Never holding the breath or restricting it. We do want to breathe a little bit harder. We want our heart rate to lift, but we never want to be so out of breath that you couldn't talk in full sentences. So just be mindful of how hard you're working. We're just looking for some low to moderate movement for half an hour. Okay, let's go back to our gentle marching. This time, if you're standing, we might try and think about lifting the knees just a little bit higher. That might mean that you need to slow down, but we do want to think about lifting the knees a little bit higher. This is also going to test our postural muscles, so tummy muscles need to switch on for balance. You might feel this work in the lower back, but it's a really good way to switch everything on, just that moment of balance. If you're seated, again, we can slow down and bring the knees just a touch higher. If you're starting to feel a bit fatigued at the front of the hips, don't worry, that's completely natural if you're new to this kind of work. Let's let the feet settle again and come back into our arms. We're going to touch the shoulders, reach the arms forward, touch the shoulders and back to the hips. Again, we can take these lovely sighing breaths. This is just a nice way to wake up the elbows, wake up the shoulder joints. We're asking them to move, and that's going to ask the body to give a little bit of the synovial fluid in the joints. It's a bit technical, but basically, if we were like the Tin Man, this is essentially putting oil in the joints. It's just waking up the body. And it's a good opportunity to take those deep breaths again. One more time, we're going to set things up a little bit more now. So we're back into our marching when we're ready, but I want you to start to bring in the arms. So we're swinging from the shoulder, not just the elbows like this. The whole shoulder moves. This will feel a bit like you're doing a bad impression of somebody marching. So make it really over the top, over exaggerate that arm swing, lift the knees a little bit harder. We're thinking the Grand Old Duke of York style. This is another opportunity to sit tall, stand tall. All our postural muscles are working. As soon as we involve arms and legs together, we should feel a boost in our blood pressure, heart rate lifts, and breathing rate lifts. If this is making you feel uncomfortable, remember you can always change. If you're standing, you could sit and join Harry, or of course you can just relax, take it slower. As we're not live together in the room, it's going to be hard to monitor how you're feeling, so you have to be really mindful for yourself how you are and act accordingly. Okay, let's keep our feet moving. We're going to go into a heel dig. So using a chair for some support if you need, or of course you can change. Well done, Harry. Making sure you're still sat in the first third of your chair. Poor Harry's got the longest legs in the world, so sitting's not the easiest for him, but we're reaching the heel forward, trying to expose all the underneath of our shoes forward, toes pointing towards the ceiling. We're just working the ankle in a different way here. If we wanted to use the arms as well, we could do a bicep curl at the same time. If the coordination is going to trip you up, don't worry, just leave the arms down. Okay, let's try something a little bit different. So we've had our feet coming forward, we're going to send them backwards now. So feet are together, I'm going to tap one foot behind me, bring the feet back together and try the other one next. I like to imagine there's a button on the floor behind me, I just press the button and bring my feet back together. If you're seated, you'll just tap one toe further underneath your seat. When you're seated, this is a nice way to open out the quadricep, the front of the thigh and the knee joint. If you're standing like me, we're working into our hips here. And again, we're seeing a different movement in the ankle. If you wanted to bring your arms in, you can add a reach forward at the same time. Again, if coordination is going to trip you up, by all means, keep your arms low. Now we need to keep our feet moving. We've done our forwards and backwards moves. It's time to do some side to side. So I'm going to take some single side steps away from my chair and back together. Harry's going to do something a little bit different. He's going to imagine his feet are on a newspaper and he's going to tap his foot off the newspaper and back on one at a time. Ooh, like it's hard to talk about what you're doing when I'm doing something a bit different. Yeah. But we're working the sides of the body here. As we move forwards and backwards through life, it's very rare that we step sideways, so it's nice to work on these muscles around the outer thigh and into the hip. If you have had a hip replacement at any point, you can keep your step very, very narrow, or alternatively just come back to some marching if it's uncomfortable for you to take this step. We could bring on our arms as well to mirror exactly what our feet are doing. If you're seated, it looks a little bit more like a half star jump, a half jack. And if you're with me, I'm just waving our arms and legs around. Perfect. Coming back to a gentle march now, we can just roll the shoulders out, make sure we're all loosey-goosey. It's probably about time to get into our workout. Okay, let's get into our workout for today. This one's all about knee health. So we're going to work just the right side of the body first. If you're standing with me, I'm going to take one foot slightly behind me, holding onto my chair for support, and I'm going to drive the knee up and tap it with my hand and then send it back behind me. If you're seated like Harry, you're going to do a leg extension, which means just using the right leg, trying to keep the thigh perfectly horizontal, just extending the knee as much as you can. You might not get a straight leg, as much as you can, and bring it back down. I like to imagine you've got a tray of tea on your lap, so you don't want to knock that over. So when we're ready, let's have a go at that now. So I'm going to tap my knee and send it back. Now this kind of work, just working one side of the body at a time, really puts the emphasis on all those muscle groups we're working, but also the standing leg is going to feel the work. All the side of the body that is supporting the movement is also working. Make sure to keep this slow and steady. We've got a nice, what I call a micro bend in the standing leg, as we tap the knee and send it back. Let's try and get 3 more in. 3.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
2, I'm sure. And 1. Taking a breather there. We're going to shake it all out now and use both sides of the body again with some leg curls. For me, that means I'm going to pick my heels up behind me, bending one knee at a time, and for Harry that's going to be tucking the toes underneath the chair, alternating. So let's try that now. Picking the heels up. Basically, after working these muscles on the front of the leg, we're going to do the complete opposite and give them a little stretch. If you're standing and want to use your arms, again, that whole body, we can do just that, reaching the arms forwards and backwards in time with our legs. If the coordination is going to trip you up, of course, you can carry on holding on to the back of the chair or hands on the hips. Don't forget about that nice, smooth, even breath. Perfect. Last few here. And take a breather there. Our final exercise in this set is going to be squats. So for Harry, that means pulling the heels back underneath the chair slightly, hands on the front of the legs, and doing a half sit to stand or a full sit to stand. For me, I'm going to have my hands on the front of the chair, feet hip distance apart as I sit back and stand up tall. Let's try that now.
Okay.
So this workout's all tailored around leg strength. So already I can feel the warmth where I worked one side in that first exercise, and now we're asking the muscles to work again. Make sure you take your own pace, and remember you can always drop down to a lower level or a higher level as you go through. So if you start working with me standing, you don't need to commit to staying stood, you can always sit with Harry. Now just remember, as we start to fatigue, we don't want to see any of these little dippy Elvis knees. We're on a train track, toes forward, knees forward. Last few here, let's get our last rep in. And then take a breather. So we've put 3 exercises together there. What you would call that is a superset. That is a superset for the legs. So well done everybody. We need to go all over again because we need to work the left side of the body now. So taking a nice deep breath. Let's go for that. For me, I'm on a knee repeater, which means I'm standing firmly into my right side, and I'm going to tap my left foot slightly behind, tap the knee in front and send it back. Harry is doing his leg extensions, trying to keep the thighs horizontal. Let's keep going with that movement now. Now, as you can see, I'm always holding on to the back of my chair for some support. This can be a really wobbly move, and it asks a lot of our posture. If you're confident, by all means, you can keep your hands free and go a little bit quicker. Or alternatively, use the chair for support and for balance. Now for me standing, I can really feel some fatigue and some tiredness moving through the supporting side, and that's absolutely normal. Just take a moment if you need, and then join back in when you're ready. Last few here. And let's take a break there. Next exercise is using our whole body again with those leg curls. So that is flicking the heel up towards the bottom, trying to keep the knee back as we go. Tapping the toes underneath if you're with Harry. And of course, if we want to keep this whole body, which I'm sure we do, we can reach our arms forward and back. With the movement, so again, we've just worked all those muscles on the front of the legs. Now it's time to give them a little stretch by picking the heel up. And of course, working the back of the legs at the same time. So it's a really good all-rounder for the legs. How are you feeling, Harry?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good stuff. Last couple here. 3, 2, and there's our last one. And we're finishing off this superset back into our squats. So choose the position that's right for you. It might be hands across the chest. I'll have a go this time with not holding onto my chair. Sit to stand for Harry. Make sure you pull those heels back. Keep the face lifted. Knees and toes all shining forward. Let's go. Last one. I realise how funny we look when we're both doing alternates. I'm going to go in the same time as you.
Oh yeah.
Sitting down.
No, it's a problem I can't see you.
Sure, well, we look like Bill and Ben, if I got them. So, making sure chest is lifted and face is forward. If you're coming with me, it's just like you're about to sit down. Is the idea.
And if you feel you can with the sitting ones, just stand all the way up. But only if you feel like it.
Real warmth building around my knee joints right now. Let's get our last couple in and we'll take our breather. Last one for me, last one for Harry. Well done. Time to grab a drink, take a breather. We've got one more round of 3 exercises to do. It's nice and easy. We've obviously really focused on our knees here and our leg strength, which is a really nice way to support our joints and make sure they're healthy by increasing the strength of the muscles around the knee. And that's one of the reasons that we've done this, to put this session together. The last one though, we want to flush the body now. So we put all that work in, we've worked the muscles. Let's make sure that we keep everything moving. We want to work our heart and our lungs with our last 3 exercises. Less focus on the muscles and more on the cardiovascular system. So our first one is going to be a seated march or a high knee march if you're with me. Let's get into that right now. So coming in, just like with our warm up, we are swinging our arms more than we feel we need to really over exaggerate. The arm swing. If you're standing or seated, we're trying to think about marching with intention. Imagine you're going somewhere, going to the shops or going to meet somebody, you're running a bit late perhaps. Also importantly, make sure that you're still getting your heels down into the ground. Sometimes it's easy to end up marching on your tiptoes, sort of. So again, the challenge here is to flush the whole body. Make sure that we feel really good and alive and vitalised after our workout. Last deep breath here then. And 3, 2, 1, and rest in there. We're going to go into some star jumps now, so half stars. For me, that means tapping the foot to the side, alternately, just like we did in our warm-up, and reaching the arms to the side, like so. For Harry, he's going to do exactly the same thing, but it's really important for Harry to take his knee with him. You don't want to end up in a position where you're sort of doing this.
No.
You have to take the knee open. So let's bring the arms in. Again, the goal here is to move the blood all around the body, which means waving our arms and legs around all at the same time. That's very professional. Now we want to make sure that especially when you're seated, really try and remember to keep tall spine, shoulders drawn down away from the ears, chubby muscles engaged, using all those postural muscles as well. Last few repetitions. One more nice deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And break there. We've got one more exercise to do, and that is going to be our spotty dog. So that means tapping the feet behind us, just like we did in our warm-up. But this time, as I reach a foot back, both arms are going to shoot forward, and then I come back to standing tall. Tap the foot back, both arms reach forward, and then stand tall. And that's going to be our low version of a spotty dog. Now where your arms go is up to you. You could reach your arms low, as if you were reaching down to a very nice cat or a dog or a child. You might want to reach your arms high, as if you're reaching to take something off a shelf. Or if you're really feeling good today and energized, you could even reach just in line with your eyes, so higher than the shoulders, and that will really bring the heart rate up. So again, really great way to lift the heart rate. Anytime our arms come above the line of the heart, we're going to put a real big demand on our circulation system. Try and get our last few in here. Just 5 more seconds. And then that is us for today. Perfect. Now we want to make sure we've just lifted our heart rate and lifted our breathing rate heaps. So we want to make sure that we cool down in a slow and gentle way. So if everyone could come to sitting on your chair. Now's a good time to grab a drink of water if you need. I'm going to do a couple of stretches. We want to really focus on stretching our legs because that's what we've worked most today. But let's just start by bopping the heels one at a time or two together. Could do a rock forwards and backwards even. A really nice way to say thank you to our ankles. Like a little massage almost for the bottom of the feet. We never want to stop dead, so this is a good way to keep blood flowing through the body. Okay, and let's go into our stretches. We're going to do all of our stretches seating, so now's a good time, if you have been standing, to grab a chair that is a really stable chair, ideally a dining room chair without arms. Don't worry if you don't have something like that, but do your best. So if we make sure we're in the first third of our chair, we can't slouch back yet, we need to stay upright. And we're going to have a little stretch for our legs. Now when we've done some exercise, we never want to stop and just relax and sit down. It's not very good for our heart and it's not good for our muscles. We want to keep the blood gently moving around to recover and feed the muscles everything they need before we just relax. So we're going to do something that's really gentle to let the heart relax in a gentle way, keep the blood moving, which helps with recovery. It's good for everything. So we're going to do a couple of really gentle pedals through the feet. You might not even pick your feet off the floor, you're just picking the heels up. Great. And from there, we'll take 1 foot forward, long and away. So I'm going to use, we're using our right leg.
Yep.
Make sure the toes relax, so you can let your foot flop forward, put both hands on the left leg, the bending knee, and then just tip forward out of your seat slightly. You're trying to think about bringing your nose forward and not down. We should hopefully see, I'm going to focus a bit, hopefully feel a stretch down the back of the hamstring. Another thing to think about is that imagine you're also, while leaning your face forward, trying to send your hips into the back of the chair. So a lot of fighting sensations as we try and lengthen out the back of the hamstring.
Hinge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is like a hinge. And if you have any lower back pain, this can be a really nice stretch to alleviate that. All the muscles down the back of the body are connected, so it's a really good opportunity to get a good stretch. If you want to, you can really over-exaggerate now and try and pick the toe up. That will send the stretch from the back of the leg into the calf and down the back of the knee. If that feels a little bit much, you could even come back to sitting and you should still feel a bit of a stretch just by pulling those toes up. Let's come back together, have a little bit of a bounce with the heels. We won't forget about our arms, so we can do this movement that we saw in our warm-up. Touch the shoulders, reach forward, touch shoulders, back down. And then let's go on the other side. So left leg is long and straight, toes are relaxed, hands come to the right leg. We sit tall and bring the nose forward. Hinging from the hips and looking for a stretch down the back of the left thigh, the hamstring. If you wanted to increase the stretch now, you could pull the toes up, trying to get that stretch to move down into the calf and back of the knee. You just shows
Yes.
Harry's like me. Don't worry guys, we've just got really long arms, it's not. Sitting up nice and tall, keep those toes pulling back, see if you can still feel that stretch for the calf. Bringing 2 feet together, let's bounce through the heels. We'll use our arms for a moment as well, just to keep blood flowing through the body. Now we want to do a stretch for our shoulders. We're going to bring the right hand on the left shoulder. It's a little bit like twist of this. And just let it relax. Then we're going to bring the left hand just above where the elbow is on this side. Walking the fingertips over the shoulder like you're going to give yourself a pat on the back, and then keep that arm pressed and hugged in tight. Take a nice deep breath and make sure you've still got both sides of the neck are long. So we're not trying to crowd out the neck. Shoulders are drawing down and we're hugging this arm in. I love this one, I think it's really effective. If you can send all of your oxygen in between the shoulder blades, so as you breathe in, try and really expand the rib cage, side to side, front and back. That really helps to encourage the stretch across the back of the shoulders. And let those arms fall down. You might want to have a couple of shoulder rolls here, do a bit of wriggling. Let's bounce those heels again, maybe do some heel digs. We don't want to forget about our legs. Second side now, left hand comes to right shoulder, right hand comes just above the elbow. We walk the fingertips over the back, hug that arm in, make sure both sides of the neck are long. And then think about taking those deeper breaths. You might be familiar with this stretch. Usually we see it like this with a long straight arm, but I think bending the arm is just as effective. And this is just a way of keeping the things a little bit more controlled and gentle. You have a bit more control over this area.
I think I feel it better, to be honest, like this.
Me too. Since I've started doing this stretch as an adaptation, this is the only one I do now. So it feels great. Rolling the shoulders out. We're going to do one more stretch for our chest, which is really important. I think especially as we grow older or we start working at the computer a bit more and watching TV a bit more, the shoulders round. And what can happen, the muscles on the front of the chest will shorten and it's going to get harder and harder to pull those shoulders back and stand with really good posture. So it's nice to stretch here, something we should definitely try and do every day. A couple of options, we can bring both palms onto the flat small of the back, draw the elbows together, lift the eyes, slightly lift the chin and take a deep breath high into the ribs again, trying to expand the rib cage at the front. Your other option, you could reach both hands back and hold onto the back of your chair and just lean forward slightly. Or another one, which is my favourite, so you can stop at any point and stick with the stretch that feels right for you. My final one that I love to do, if you want to stay there and carry on demonstrating that one, would be to draw some nice diagonal lines. So my hands are in front of me and I'm going to really expand, reach my fingertips back in a diagonal line. Top corner and bottom corner of the room. Keep moving. Wherever we are, let's roll the shoulders now. My favourite, always finish with this one, ear to shoulder. Try and keep your face forward, so chin and forehead are both shining forwards equally. And just think about, you've just come out of the swimming pool and we're just letting